You would never hand the keys to your house to a total stranger on the street. Yet every single day, you willingly hand over the keys to your mind to people you do not even respect. Imagine your typical morning commute on the freeway. A guy in a rusted pickup truck cuts you off at 80 miles per hour, slamming on his brakes and flipping you the bird. Suddenly, your blood pressure spikes, your grip tightens on the steering wheel, and your entire morning is ruined. Why? Because you just allowed a complete stranger to hijack your emotional state. You have become a puppet, and the outside world is actively pulling your strings. We walk around believing we are free, independent individuals, living our lives on our own terms. Yet we are constantly held hostage by invisible enemies. A sarcastic email from a coworker, a passive-aggressive comment on your social media feed, a flight delayed by 3 hours, or a sudden downpour when you forgot your umbrella. These are the mundane, daily forces that dictate whether you feel joy or absolute misery. But here is the brutal truth that the ancient Stoic philosophers understood 2,000 years ago: the world is not controlling you. You are volunteering to be controlled. Epictetus, a man who was born into actual physical slavery, realized that true freedom has absolutely nothing to do with your external circumstances. He understood that an insult is merely data. Anger is a choice. You cannot put out a fire by throwing your own outrage into it. When you let an external event dictate your internal weather, you are handing over the remote control of your mind to the outside world. Think about the profound absurdity of this behavior. You lock your doors at night to protect your flat-screen television and your laptop. You check your bank accounts to make sure nobody is stealing your hard-earned money. You would never let a stranger casually walk into your living room, muddy up your carpets, and trash the place. Yet, you leave the heavy iron doors to your inner citadel wide open. You allow anyone who walks by to track mud all over your peace of mind. We are living our lives on a reactionary autopilot, letting the opinions, actions, and sheer incompetence of others determine our self-worth and our mood. If someone handed your physical body over to a random passerby, you would be furious. But you hand your mind over to anyone who throws a cheap insult your way, allowing them to disturb your peace and bring you distress. This is the ultimate form of weakness. You are letting people who do not even care about you live rent-free in your head, consuming your precious energy. Stop handing over your mind to strangers. You have to realize that the events themselves are entirely neutral. A traffic jam is just a collection of cars occupying a certain number of square feet on the asphalt. An insult is just a series of sound waves vibrating through the air. These things have zero inherent power to harm you. The damage only occurs when you agree to be damaged. The suffering only begins when you add your own judgment to the event and declare to yourself that you have been wronged. You must take back the remote control right now. Build an inner citadel that cannot be breached by the daily chaos of the outside world. Because if you do not control your mind, the world will gladly control it for you. Let us go back to that morning commute on the freeway. You are sitting in your car, fuming because of that reckless driver. But look closely at what actually happened in reality. A vehicle moved from one lane to another. A human hand made a rude gesture. A car horn produced a sound measuring perhaps 90 decibels. Are any of these physical events inherently painful? If a heavy tree branch falls in the forest and makes a loud noise, do you take it personally? Of course you do not. The noise of a car horn or a sarcastic comment from a coworker is just vibrating air. It is entirely neutral. It has zero power to penetrate your skin or break your bones. So where does the intense pain come from? It comes from you. It comes from the story you tell yourself about that vibrating air. The ancient philosophers taught us that it is not events that disturb people, but their judgments about those events. When your coworker sends that passive-aggressive email, the email is just a collection of pixels on a glowing screen. It is lifeless data, but your mind instantly adds a layer of interpretation. You say to yourself that this person disrespects you, that this person is trying to undermine your career, that you are being maliciously attacked. That judgment, and that judgment alone, is what injects the poison into your bloodstream. You are the one holding the syringe. You are manufacturing your own misery and blaming it on the outside world. Think about a sparring partner in a boxing ring. When they throw a heavy punch at you, do you feel deeply offended and cry about how unfair the world is? No, you recognize it as part of the training process. You duck, you weave, and you use their kinetic energy to improve your own reflexes. The people who insult you, the people who cut you off in traffic, the people who doubt you, they are simply your emotional sparring partners. They are providing you with free resistance training for your character and your patience. Why do you choose to see them as tormentors when you could see them as trainers? If you remove the thought that you have been insulted, the insult instantly vanishes. Choose not to be harmed, and you will not feel harmed. Do not feel harmed, and you have not been harmed. It really is that simple. The next time someone hurls a bitter remark your way, picture it as a heavy stone being thrown into a bottomless ocean. It makes a tiny splash, and then it sinks into the dark abyss, leaving the surface perfectly calm. Your mind must become that ocean. When you stop attaching your ego to the meaningless noise of other people, you strip them of all their power. You realize that their anger is their problem, a reflection of their own chaotic internal state, and it has absolutely nothing to do with your actual worth. Now that you understand that an insult is nothing more than vibrating air, how do you actively defend yourself when the attack comes? Welcome to the practice of mental martial arts. When someone steps up to you with hostility, your biological instinct screams at you to fight back. You want to defend your honor. You want to throw a punch right back at them with your words. But remember, anger is a raging fire, and you cannot put out a fire by throwing your own outrage into it. This brings us to your first defensive technique, the shield of absolute silence. Most people think that staying silent when attacked is a sign of weakness or cowardice. They could not be more wrong. Reacting emotionally is the true weakness. When you react, you are handing your power over to the aggressor. You are validating their attempt to control you. Silence, on the other hand, is an impenetrable wall. When someone throws a burning insult at you, silence acts as a vacuum that instantly sucks the oxygen right out of their fire. You simply look at them, totally unaffected, and refuse to play their game. You let their bitter words hang awkwardly in the air until they realize how foolish they sound. But what if you are forced to respond? What if that passive-aggressive coworker corners you in the break room? This is when you use the second technique, the reverse reaction. The ancient philosopher Epictetus was a master of this mental judo. He taught that when someone insults you, you should not get defensive. Instead, you agree with them, and even exaggerate the insult. If someone tells you that you are looking terrible today, you simply smile and say that they are absolutely right. And if they knew about all your other terrible habits, they would not have stopped at just criticizing your appearance. It is a brilliant move. The attacker expects you to push back, and when you do not give them any resistance, they lose their balance and fall flat on their faces. You completely disarm them by refusing to take their opinions seriously. Finally, you must master the art of psychological alchemy. You must transform the attack into fuel for your own growth. Think back to that angry driver cutting you off on the freeway. Instead of seeing him as an enemy trying to ruin your morning, you must immediately reframe him in your mind as your personal patience trainer. He is giving you a pop quiz, a free opportunity to practice keeping your blood pressure low under pressure. Every annoying customer, every critical boss, and every internet troll is just a sparring partner stepping into the ring to help you build your emotional muscles. You take their negative, chaotic energy and you use it to reinforce your own discipline. Insults are just data. Anger is always a choice. By refusing to be baited, you neutralize their negativity and transform it into your own unshakable power. Now that you have mastered the defensive strikes of mental martial arts, You step into the ultimate phase of your transformation. You become the undisputed king of your own mind. Think about the profound shift in power dynamics that happens when you refuse to react. When an attacker realizes that their words cannot penetrate your skin, that their hostility cannot raise your heart rate even a single beat, they are completely disarmed. You have stripped them of their weapon. Who really holds the power in that situation? Is it the person screaming until their face turns red? Or is it the person standing there, breathing deeply, looking back with absolute calmness? The moment you take back the remote control of your emotions, you win the game before it even begins. You realize that you cannot control the weather, the traffic on the interstate, or the unpredictable moods of the people around you, but you possess absolute, unbreakable authority over how you respond. The Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius was the most powerful man in the known world. He could have ordered the punishment of anyone who insulted him. Yet, he understood that true power does not come from crushing your enemies. He wrote that the best and most profound revenge is simply not to be like the person who performed the injury. If someone acts with cruelty, your revenge is to act with kindness. If someone acts with chaotic anger, your revenge is to remain grounded in unbreakable peace. Why would you ever lower your standards to match the incompetence of a stranger? You do not have to absorb their poison. You do not have to drink from their cup of misery. Instead, you must focus all your energy on building your inner citadel. This is the Stoic fortress of the mind. It is a sanctuary constructed with the heavy stones of discipline, patience, and logic. When the storms of daily life rage outside, when the internet trolls leave hateful comments, when the reckless driver cuts you off, you simply retreat into your inner citadel. You pull up the drawbridge. You watch the chaos happening outside the moat, but you know that absolutely none of it can breach your walls. You are completely safe. This is not a philosophy of weakness or passive acceptance. It is the ultimate philosophy of power. You are drawing a line in the sand and declaring that your peace of mind is sacred. You are deciding that your happiness is too valuable to be handed out to random people on the street. The choice is entirely yours. You can continue living as a puppet, letting every minor inconvenience and petty insult pull your strings and ruin your day. Or you can cut the strings right now. You can reclaim your sovereignty. You can build your fortress, master your reactions, secure your inner citadel, and the outside world will never control you again. But building this fortress is not a one-time event. It requires daily, relentless maintenance. You cannot simply read about these concepts and expect your mind to magically transform. You must train your mind, just as a professional athlete trains their physical body. Think of a heavyweight wrestler stepping onto the mat. He does not complain when his opponent grabs him or attempts to throw him to the ground. He expects it, and he uses the momentum of his opponent to secure his own victory. You must approach your daily life with the exact same mindset. Tomorrow morning, before you even step out of your front door or merge onto the busy interstate, you must prepare your mind for the reality of human behavior. Tell yourself that today you will encounter people who are selfish, ungrateful, arrogant, and difficult. But understand that they act this way out of sheer ignorance. They do not know the difference between what is truly good and what is truly evil. Their negative behavior is entirely their problem, and it has absolutely zero power to infect your character unless you voluntarily invite it inside your walls. Why would you ever demand that the universe bend to your personal preferences when you possess the ultimate power to adapt your mind to any situation? When that coworker attempts to undermine you, or when a sudden downpour threatens to ruin your afternoon plans, do not merely tolerate these events. You must learn to actively embrace them. The ancient philosophers called this the love of fate. It is the profound realization that wishing for reality to be different is a foolish waste of your precious energy. Instead of wishing for a life free from challenges, you must wish for the strength to face them with unbreakable dignity. Picture a massive, blazing campfire. If you throw a handful of dirt or a small branch into a tiny candle, the fragile flame will be completely extinguished. But when you throw obstacles into a roaring fire, the fire does not weaken. It consumes whatever is thrown into it, and it uses those very obstacles as raw fuel to burn even brighter and rise even higher. You must become that roaring fire. The insults, the delays, the betrayals, and the sheer incompetence of the outside world are no longer threats to your happiness. They are the raw materials you use to practice your patience, your courage, and your profound self-control. Every single challenge becomes a direct opportunity for you to practice your philosophy in the real world. You are no longer a victim of your circumstances. You are the absolute master of your interpretations. The world can take away your money, your reputation, and even your physical health, but it can never touch your reasoned choice. The remote control is firmly in your hands. You have cut the strings of the puppet master. You have secured your inner citadel. Step out into the world and live with the supreme confidence of a person who knows that absolutely nothing can conquer their mind. Step out into that world and you will immediately be tested. You will walk into your office building or log onto your computer, and someone will attempt to drag you down to their level of misery. When a coworker takes credit for your project, or an internet critic leaves a bitter comment, your ego will scream for retaliation. It will demand that you defend your reputation and strike back. But you must ask yourself a critical question. Why are you handing the judge's gavel to someone who does not even know how to govern their own life? The ancient philosophers understood a profound truth about human behavior. When someone attacks you, they are operating under the false belief that they are doing something beneficial for themselves. They are completely blinded by their own ignorance. They mistakenly believe that bringing you down will somehow elevate them. This is a severe sickness of the mind. When you see a person suffering from a high physical fever, you do not get angry at them for being sick. You feel a sense of pity for their agonizing condition. You must apply the exact same logic to people who are infected with toxic anger, jealousy, and bitterness. Their hostility is merely a symptom of their profound internal suffering. When they hurl an insult at you, they are not actually harming you at all. They are severely degrading their own character. They are actively destroying their own human dignity. Why would you ever allow their internal sickness to infect your perfectly healthy mind? Think of a beautiful, flawless emerald resting on the ground. If a random passerby hurls hateful insults at the emerald, does the stone lose its brilliant green color? If someone spits on it or kicks it, does it suddenly become worthless? Absolutely not. The emerald remains exactly what it is. It retains its full value and beauty regardless of what anyone says or does to it. You must become that emerald. Your character, your integrity, and your inner peace must be completely independent of external opinions. When you react with screaming anger, you are stepping down from your secure fortress and rolling in the dirt with them. You are validating their delusion. Instead, you must look at their attacks with absolute, cold objectivity. Remind yourself that their aggressive words are just meaningless sound waves vibrating through the air. You cannot control what they say, but you possess absolute authority over whether you will agree with what they say. Do you think a professional heavyweight boxer gets deeply offended and cries when his opponent throws a heavy punch? No, he expects it. He studies it, he slips past it, and maintains his perfect balance. You must treat every difficult person you meet as merely a sparring partner in the gymnasium of life. They do not exist to destroy you. They exist to test your reflexes and strengthen your patience. Your only duty is to maintain your own brilliant color. By refusing to let their chaos disturb your peace, you perform the highest act of self-mastery. You leave their negativity entirely with them, exactly where it belongs. And you continue moving forward with the quiet confidence of a person who has completely mastered the game of life. But do not make the mistake of thinking that the world will suddenly become a peaceful place just because you have decided to reclaim your mind. The chaos will continue. The people around you will still act out of ignorance, jealousy, and bitter resentment. Do you honestly believe that life will stop throwing heavy punches just because you have finally learned how to block them? Of course, it will not. The waves will never stop crashing against the shore. Your goal is not to command the ocean to be still. Your goal is to become the massive stone cliff that the waves break against until they eventually turn into harmless foam. The ancient philosophers understood that wishing for a comfortable life is a fool's errand. You must never demand that events happen exactly as you wish. Instead, you must demand of yourself the unbreakable will to accept events exactly as they happen. This is the ultimate secret of human power. When you stop demanding that the universe bend to your preferences, you completely eliminate the possibility of disappointment. Think about the people who try to drag you into their toxic drama every single day. They spread malicious rumors. They actively undermine your hard work. They try to steal your credit at the office. Let them try. They are operating under the pathetic delusion that they can somehow injure your character. But how can they actually harm you? If someone steals your physical property, they have only stolen metal and plastic. If they insult your public reputation, they have only manipulated the fleeting opinions of total strangers. None of these things belong to you in the first place. You must draw a permanent line in the sand between what is yours and what is not. Your bank account, your social status, the traffic on the highway, the unpredictable weather. These are not yours. Your opinions, your impulses, your desires, and your aversions. These are yours forever. The only thing you truly own is your reasoned choice. You must look at these daily attacks not as tragedies, but as outstanding opportunities to prove your mastery. When the storm hits, you do not panic. You do not surrender. You look the obstacle dead in the eye and recognize it as your exclusive training ground. If your coworker acts with deceit, they are actively destroying their own moral compass, not yours. Why would you ever let their personal moral failure dictate your heart rate or your blood pressure? You are the absolute sovereign of your internal kingdom. When you fully internalize this truth, you become truly invincible. Invincibility does not mean that you will never lose a job, or never get sick, or never face a financial setback. It means that no matter what catastrophic event the outside world drops on your doorstep, it cannot conquer your spirit. You will take the raw, chaotic material of your daily life and forge it into patience, courage, and unshakable dignity. The next time a person tries to insult you, or the next time an unexpected disaster ruins your careful plans, you will not cry out in anger. You will simply breathe deeply, untouched by the noise, and continue forward with the quiet, terrifying confidence of a ruler who knows their inner citadel is completely impenetrable. How do you maintain this terrifying confidence day after day in a world that never stops trying to break you down? You must realize that true invincibility is not about winning every battle in the physical world. It is about choosing never to enter a combat in which the outcome is not entirely within your own control. Do you honestly think the wealthy executive screaming in the corporate boardroom is powerful? Do you think the person driving the $100,000 sports car who flies into a raging panic at a red light is free? They are absolutely not free. They are pathetic slaves to their own blood pressure and their desperate need for external validation. True power is walking through a chaotic, unpredictable world and knowing that absolutely nothing can touch your reasoned choice. The ancient philosophers taught that if you want to be completely free, you must completely let go of your desperate attachment to everything that is not yours. Your public reputation is not yours. Your upcoming promotion at the office is not yours. Even your physical body is essentially just a fragile vessel on loan from the universe, susceptible to sickness and injury at any given moment. If a bitter colleague takes credit for your hard work, let them have it. They have only stolen a temporary, meaningless illusion. They cannot ever steal your integrity, your disciplined work ethic, or your profound ability to remain perfectly calm under immense pressure. The moment you stop demanding that the universe hand you specific, comfortable outcomes, you become completely untouchable. You become the undisputed master of your own internal domain. Think about the profound freedom of this philosophical mindset. When you are no longer chained to the desperate hope that people will validate you, or the agonizing fear that you might lose your money. You permanently strip the outside world of its leverage over you. You are no longer a puppet waiting for society to pull your emotional strings. Instead, you operate with the cold, precise logic of a master strategist. When an obstacle blocks your path, you do not throw a tantrum or complain about how unfair life is. You turn the obstacle upside down. You treat it as raw material. A blazing fire does not shrink when you throw heavy logs into it. It consumes the logs and uses them as fuel to burn even brighter and hotter. You must become that roaring fire. Every insult, every financial setback, every betrayal, and every moment of physical pain is just another heavy log thrown into the furnace of your character. You do not merely tolerate the difficulties of your life. You actively embrace them, because they are exactly the training mechanisms you need to forge your mind into an unbreakable weapon. You stop seeking an easy life, and instead, you seek to become a person who cannot be broken by a difficult life. The remote control is firmly in your hand. The heavy iron doors of your inner citadel are fully fortified. You look at the chaotic, noisy, complaining world around you, and you realize that you possess the ultimate advantage. You possess a perfectly quiet mind. This perfectly quiet mind is not a gift from the universe. It is a daily, relentless conquest. Do you think the ancient philosophers found profound peace because their lives were completely easy? Epictetus lived in literal physical chains as a slave. Marcus Aurelius ruled a massive empire constantly ravaged by brutal wars and deadly plagues. Yet they both discovered the exact same unshakable secret. Peace is not a physical destination you travel to. It is an impenetrable fortress you carry with you everywhere you go. Every single morning when you wake up, you face the exact same choice. You can wake up and immediately surrender your mental territory to the chaotic, unpredictable opinions of the masses. Or you can pull up the drawbridge and man the walls of your own mind. Why would you continue to bleed for petty battles that exist exclusively in your own imagination? Why would you ever let a passing, sarcastic comment from a coworker dictate the physical rhythm of your heart? You must stop acting like you have 10,000 years to figure this out. Death is hanging over you right now. And every single second you spend agonizing over the disrespect of a total stranger is a precious second of your life stolen forever. The world will do what the world does. It will rain. It will shine. People will lie. And people will betray. Let them do it. Their actions are completely outside your walls. Your reasoned choice is the only sovereign territory you will ever actually possess. Remember that you are simply an actor in a massive play, and you do not get to choose your specific role or the stage. You only get to choose exactly how well you perform your given part. If the universal director assigns you the role of a wealthy executive, play it with profound humility. If you are assigned the role of a struggling worker, play it with immense, unbreakable dignity. The script is not in your control, but the performance is entirely yours to command. Why do you constantly demand that the universe rewrite the script just to make you comfortable? It is pure arrogance to believe the entire world should bend to your specific preferences. Instead, you must bend your own mind. Align your personal will with the harsh reality of nature. When you harmonize your desires with the way the world actually operates, disappointment becomes mathematically impossible. You will never fail to get what you want, because you only want what is within your absolute control. Think of the monumental relief that comes with this profound realization. You finally drop the unbelievably heavy luggage of the expectations of other people. You stop begging for validation from a society that does not even know what it actually values. You become entirely self-sufficient. A beautifully polished emerald does not need anyone to compliment it to remain beautiful. It retains its brilliant green color whether it is admired in a brightly lit museum or buried under 10 feet of dark mud. Your character must be exactly like that emerald. So the next time you feel that familiar surge of anger rising in your chest, stop. Look closely at the trigger. Ask yourself if it is truly worth trading your precious serenity for a fleeting moment of useless outrage. The answer is always no. Close the heavy iron gates. Guard your judgments with your life. Keep your inner citadel fully fortified. The world can rage and storm all around you, but inside your walls, you are the undisputed ruler of a perfectly quiet empire. The world will always try to pull your strings, but now you know exactly how to cut them. Your mind is your only true possession, and absolutely no one can take your peace unless you willingly hand it over. The choice is yours. Will you remain a fragile puppet, or will you build an impenetrable inner citadel? If you are finally ready to master your mind and stop letting the outside world control your emotions, hit that subscribe button right now. Leave a comment below telling us what specific action you will take today to fortify your mental walls. Like and share this video with someone who desperately needs to hear this ancient truth. Stay strong, stay fiercely focused, and take back your ultimate control. See you next video.